Hey, what's up, guys? It's Metal, and we're going to do another How to PUG Adventure commentary video. This is my VDH Alt. This character is eye level 205, and this is a 14 Sanguine Depths. And what makes this extra spicy, on top of being only eye level 205 doing the 14 PUG group, is that this is an oceanic healer. So basically, this healer is like, he's like 1800 IO. He's on an alt as well. I'm like 1700 IO. So we're both on like lower alts. And then these three guys are just like random pugs, as far as I know. But I didn't know this guy was oceanic, so I'll ask in a couple seconds, like, if it's an oceanic server that he's on. And he's like, "Yep, good luck." So my ping was dog shit. It was super laggy, but it was still a really fun run, and honestly really smooth considering. So I always start out this pull. I pull this pack and this pack into this thing. I always forget what to call these. What's the word I'm looking for? Vase? Something like that. I don't know. Container? Whatever. I always pull them in, but we don't actually have a Venthyr in this group, so it doesn't really matter that I do that. This pull you can see, so it's Tyrannical weak. It's not Fortified weak. It's Tyrannical Inspiring Necrotic. Oh yeah, that's also what makes this spicy. I'm low eye level. It's an Oceanic server, and it's a Necrotic Tyrannical Sanguine Depths, so pretty good times. But even though it is Tyrannical weak, this pull can be kind of spicy. There's just a lot of dudes in it. There's some of these animate weapons that pull up. And then when you get Necrotic up, it's just like a super pain in the ass, but they all die, so no big deal. And I am carrying on this character as well, so I don't have my file out right now. I think I click it pretty soon here to, yeah, there it is. Boop. So the file is really nice, obviously, for Necrotic as well. And one thing a lot of people don't know about this dungeon, and you'll see it later, is that the thing you use at the end on the gauntlet and the last boss, the thing you put on the ground that protects you from Gloom Squall, it wipes bleeds, which a lot of people know from like the Severing Smash, but it also actually wipes Necrotic. So you can use that item as you're playing to wipe your Necrotics off of yourself as well, which is really nice. Yeah, just kiting around, avoiding stuff. That got really spicy there for a second because when I came back, the Echoing Thrust went off. And that's actually one of the things that sucks most about this mob type is normally you can make the Echoing Thrusts really nice and clean by just like stepping away and stepping back, and it makes them all face the same way. But once you have to kite for Necrotic, the mob can just face any way and put those Echoing Thrusts anywhere. Yeah, that's right. I'm like, are you guys Oceanic? And everybody's like, it doesn't mean. None of them notice. And then the shaman's like, lol. Lol, you're welcome. Yeah. I think he says good luck. Just super funny. Yeah, pretty standard pull here. We're going to skip the next room after this. And you can see, like, how hard when you're under geared, even though this isn't Fort Week, just because I'm a Demon Hunter, and Demon Hunters are a self-heal tank, how much you can start getting trucked because of Necrotic. But the thing about that's deceptive, and the difference between a Demon Hunter and a Blood Death Knight is Demon Hunters actually take a lot less damage up front than a Blood DK. They heal almost as much, but not as much. BDKs heal more, but of course Demon Hunters can just kite. And so even though I get trucked, it doesn't really matter. Demon Hunters do not give a shit about Necrotic, frankly. They really don't. If the Demon Hunter is good, you just decide to leave. You just decide to leave. So if you're under geared like I am, and you're out of cooldowns, you can leave it 10 or 15 stacks, like 17 stacks. That's not that many stacks, but like, why would I stay in and stress the healer when I could just leave and press throw glaive, you know? They don't care. So yeah, just make sure you leave. That's really all you got to know as a Demon Hunter with this, and it's really not bad at all. So one of the things that sucks, actually, that I forgot to mention, that I felt a little silly about, but as time goes by, I think it's going to be okay, is I did need to use, again, just because of gear levels and stuff, I did need to actually manually use meta, which really sucks to not have for the boss, but it ended up actually timing out right. So what I meant to say is that I'm a genius and I make no mistakes ever. But I definitely didn't think about it when I pressed meta. Like, I definitely had the thought when I hit meta at the time. I was like, the boss is coming up. I don't know. Yeah, 30 stacks there because there's so many little mobs there that add them up. That's one thing that's annoying about Necrotic is just like the more little mobs there are, the more Necrotic stacks you're gonna get. So I always type. This group is really on top of it, but I put a skull on it and I always type like kill the ad, please, because a lot of groups will get focused on the pride. This group doesn't, so that's awesome. But they get focused on the pride and then they forget that the ad, even though the ad itself might not be that bad, the ad is putting Necrotic stacks on your tank. So I always want to kill extra ads before Pride, personally, but, like, especially on Necrotic Week, you absolutely want to do that. I would normally use Firebrand on the Prideful, but I don't have it because I needed it on that last pull, and that's just a factor of gear. Like, if it was all optimal, I really would not have needed Firebrand recently, so I would have had it for this Prideful just to make the healer's life a little bit easier. And then using it at the start of the Pride means you've got it within the first, like, I don't know, 5 seconds or 10 seconds of the boss fight. But that's all right. It comes up towards the end. And I start this pull out. This guy can truck, so I'm going to start this pull out. We're just going to do Taunt Firebrand. And so that has two purposes as a Demon Hunter. The first, obviously, being that it reduces the damage you take from the boss. But secondarily, that is actually the most burst threat you can do as a Demon Hunter on a single target, is just Taunt into Firebrand, because Firebrand actually does a shit ton of damage. You can see, like, literally all I did was Firebrand, so it hit for, I don't know, like 3k or something. It's pretty good. And then you can go in your normal rotation after that. And so on this boss, also, it's important to get that out early, just so you can start resetting it, because I'll probably have the shield up for when he does the first Vicious Headbutt. Yep, there it is. So he basically starts the fight with high energy, and his energy counter, I believe, is not Vicious Headbutt. It's Severing Smash, if memory serves. So I don't really know how to tell when Vicious Headbutt is other than the timer, which is not always super accurate, but he usually does Vicious Headbutt super early. My kicks are going to be really shitty here because we're on Oceanic server, but basically what you want to do with this is, like, I know I just did Vicious Headbutt on, or excuse me, I know I just did Firebrand and Demon Spikes on Vicious Headbutt. I pretty much never use a defensive for Juggernaut Rush as a tank when I'm helping Soak. Pretty much never, because it's just not worth it. And you'd rather have it for other things. So coming around this time, now I know when he does this next Vicious Headbutt, I will not have Firebrand, so I'm probably going to do Demon Spikes into Feldev to get meta proc. I do a little bit early here. Let's see if I was too early. Nope. That's kind of what I mean about the timers. Like, they're not always super duper accurate with regard to Vicious Headbutt, which can make this fight a little bit goofy sometimes, but no big deal. So, and I actually didn't even overlap Demon Spikes there. I probably should have. It's kind of weird. Like, normally as a tank, there's this rule of thumb. Oh man, I didn't even notice that the healer died here. He had the old shaman special where I guess he dies on Ox and nobody notices. But one of the weird things about, like just a general rule of thumb for tanks is that in a lot of encounters, it's not advantageous to layer to overlap your cooldowns. But that's kind of like a weird rule, because I feel like there's at least two boss fights in here. Yeah, this boss and the second boss, or excuse me, this boss and the third boss, where you actually definitively don't want to like keep up high uptime cooldown. It's basically like of your defensives. It's like the boss does like no damage, and then he has like a big hit that you need to super mitigate, and you probably want to use 2 defensives for. So that's kind of how I play this. Yeah, Shaman Onks, Paladin somehow stays alive. Good for him. I think this one's going to get spicy. I think because, so what I do here is, I'm going to have Demon Spikes up. I've got like barely enough time for Demon Spikes, but I want to get Blood Spattered up. And I want to use that just to, I don't know, maybe it's a bad idea, but I like to save meta sometimes till my other cooldowns rotate out. So since I have Demon Spikes and the ability to use Blood Spattered Scale, I decided not to meta here. But what sucks is because I'm on an Oceanic server, you saw there, I don't know if you saw it blink, I hit it before it finished, but then he hit me anyway. And it hurt really bad. So you figure I would have had like this much health if I had gotten the Blood Spattered Scale up on time. But what are you going to do? I'm playing on an Oceanic server. Like, it's going to happen. It's just lag, baby. Look at that, 175 MS. So no big deal. It doesn't kill me. And that's also one of the things that's really nice about playing a Demon Hunter, is you just always have that cheat death to fall back on. And so, like, pretty much, if you haven't cheated death, you're probably fine. I think I felled up a little bit earlier there. We'll see. Yeah, he's going to Severing. So I really didn't need to fell dev there. I don't know why I did that. I should have saved that for the Smash, the Vicious Headbutt. Excuse me, not the Smash. Yeah, the Smash is what I used it on. Should have saved it for Vicious Headbutt. Oh no, I actually met it. Why the hell did I meta there? I'm going to go back. Why did I meta here? I guess I just figured it was the end of the fight, and it's going to last a while, but I don't even think I get any value out of this meta, because he never even does... I guess I meta through the Severing. But, no, that was a really bad use of Metamorphosis there. I forget if I mentioned it at the top of this fight, but basically I'm trying to do Soul Cleave to reset Firebrand the same as I do on a Pride, so you just want to keep that in mind. You don't really get a lot of value out of Spirit Bomb on tyrannical bosses, other than keeping the buff up, and it does maybe an extra 8 or 10% more healing, which is good. I actually don't have the Spirit Bomb up currently, buff up currently, but yeah, so there I filled up the Vicious Headbutt. So that's kind of like a big downside to just Shadowlands, the Shadowlands meta and Spirit Bomb's place or lack thereof in it. It's really, really good for AoE threat. I think it's really good in Fort Weeks, but I don't know. I just don't want to spec out of it because I like the move so much. Like, even though I didn't use it on the boss, like having it for a pull like this to deal lots of damage, kill them quickly, and get lots of threat is, I still think personally worth it, but it's objectively worse. Just bear that in mind. Like, you can see the damage that you can get with it is pretty crazy. If you guys aren't aware, you always want to interrupt that Curse of Suppression on these as much as you can. That specifically targets the healer, and it will silence them. So I'm going to talk really quick about some bullshit with tank design as soon as he does this. Okay, so this is the kind of shit that when I play my Demon Hunter, I just get annoyed by. But I mean, I guess that's how the game works. Or Monk, they're similar. So Demon Hunter has fairly good dodge chance and very high parry chance because Demon Spikes adds to their base parry. So they have like a good base parry, and then when you activate Demon Spikes, you get even more parry. So you think you have something silly like around 25 to 30% parry if you're geared as a Demon Hunter. And so when you fight mobs like this that do Severing Slice, I don't know if I do it here or not. Well, I'm an idiot, and I didn't put Demon Spikes up until after it hit me. We'll blame the lag again. 214 MMS, that was totally the problem. I definitely couldn't have activated Demon Spikes like 3 seconds sooner. The point being, you can parry this bleed, which is insane, because on a Paladin, like when I play my Paladin, I can block, but blocks don't invalidate the bleed. You still take the bleed. Whereas if you parry, you completely avoid the bleed, and it just doesn't get on you at all, which is actually insane. So, I don't know. I've always, like, kind of hated that. Or, like, on a Monk, you can dodge it. You can dodge on Demon Hunter, too. They have pretty good dodge chance as well. So, it's pretty crazy that you can just invalidate mechanics like that, depending on the tank that you're playing. Whereas other tanks just have to deal with it. But honestly, it's not even like plate tanks, right? Because it's really just Warriors and Paladins. Because Blood DK parries a lot, too. They have extremely high parry, especially with Dancing Rune Weapon up. So, pretty crazy if you're a parry tank that you can just ignore that bleed. It just doesn't apply to you. Pretty high chance to do it as well. I don't really know why Blizzard doesn't make block more like parry in that regard. Like, you could still take damage from the melee hit, but maybe if you blocked it, it avoids like any additional effects or something. Because like block has to be worse than parry just because you can get more of it. And typically plate tanks have block, which they're already taking less damage. Look how much damage, by the way, these non-fort packs do to me with necrotic stacks. This is pretty crazy. So you got to make sure to still use your coolies here. You notice, like, even though it's Tyrannical Week, like, I don't need this Blood Spattered Scale for 2 minutes. Like, absolutely use it to make your healer's life easier. No question there. We don't. Once again, we don't have any Venthers, so we're not opening up any of the canisters. There's no buffs to get because I think we're all Kyrian and Night Fae. Thing to note about this pull, when you do it, you always want to pull them to a corner. It doesn't matter which corner, but you always want to pull them to a corner. And the main reason for that is because if you don't, it's really hard for your group to break chains from the Overseer. They have to get to a certain distance away from the Overseer in order to break those chains. And if you keep them like in the middle, the only option they have is to run out on the bridge. And A, that's really awkward because it puts them in line of sight. And B, there's that gargoyle pat that comes out, and they might get put in a really tough situation where they either have to eat the chains damage or pull the gargoyle, and both of those suck. So always make sure to stay against a wall. You don't have to be right up against it. You can see I'm not that close to the wall, but just stay like near the wall to give them enough room. And you'll see in a second when he does the chains that we can break it just by going straight across the way. There's Dread Bindings, sleep away, and they break. So that's why you need to do that. So we'll spawn Pride here. I think I'll probably Fiery Brand pretty early. That seems to be, as I've been playing my Demon Hunter, the play. Yeah, you just pretty much start the pull off with Fiery Brand. I think it's probably more optimal to wait a little bit longer. But if you wait longer, you have less time to do the reset. so it's kind of, I don't know, kind of either way. It's hard to say. So like Firebrand shield just went off, and there's 50% of his health left, so it's like, it's kind of hard to say because using it early means I basically take no damage and I have a full health pool, but using it late means that I take less damage when the Pride is harder. So I don't know. I'm not sure what I think. I know using it, you can see, look, I already have it back, which is actually insane. Like, that legendary is actually really good for single target, stuff like that. It just helps so much. Just being able to reset that. So I kind of fuck up here, and this is something that happens to me a lot, and I really... The answer is that I should just get good, but I also hate that Fell Devastation costs Fury, because it's one of those situations where you start out a pull, and Demon Spikes doesn't cost Fury, so I'm bad for not using Demon Spikes, first of all. I should have just landed and used it. Yeah, I activated it a little bit late, so that's on me. But then it's because I was planning to use this. I was like, well, I don't need to use Demon Spikes because I'm going to use Fell Dev, but I just didn't check my Fury, and it's like, oh shit, I can't use it because it costs 50 Fury for whatever fucking reason. And so I think I use it here. Yeah. So that's just me kind of misplaying my resources, and the Shaman shits his pants. I don't blame him. This isn't a necessary Spirit Link, but I don't blame him based on how much I got trucked. I gave him the old heart attack for no reason. So I should have just either started with Demon Spikes right away, or well, actually, pretty much that's it, because I didn't have enough Fury to do anything else, and I wouldn't have wanted to blow meta. I would have preferred to use Fell Dev and get the baby Metamorphosis from the Demonic talent. Okay, I always focus this Depths Warden, and I always mark the Depths Warden. So I focus it for myself so that I can always see when he's doing Crushing Strike, because this is basically a boss mechanic. It's like you don't just use your active mitigation on this pull. You need to make sure you active mitigate specifically Crushing Strike, and even on non-fort weeks, it's not a fun ability to get hit by without your mitigation up. So reason one why I always focus him is to know when he Crushing Strikes, and reason two. Yeah, you can see, like, you figure that would have done, like, maybe double damage if I didn't have mitigation, which is pretty insane. Reason two is to interrupt Barb Shackles. And Barb Shackles is a bitch because, so, like, we have a Paladin, right? And Barb Shackles roots you, and it puts a hard dot on you. And most things that root you that have damage associated with them, if the Paladin applies Freedom, will remove the damage as well. It just removes the whole ability. But for whatever reason, Barb Shackles does not work that way. And so... yeah, the Paladin can put Freedom on you to get you out of the root so you don't eat that big orange ground effect, but whoever gets targeted is still going to take that heavy damage over time effect, and that just really sucks for the healer. It's not 4 weeks, so it's not as bad as it could be, but, you know. So my least favorite thing about the pattern that I use for Sanguine Depths is that it's really hard to make a consistent use of Prideful on the second boss because of the randomly spawning gargoyles. And I happen to get one of the best gargoyle positions, in my opinion, which is the end. So it's always the first or the last gargoyle. It's never the middle gargoyle. So basically, I'm always checking, is it this dude? So this is the first one. And it's not. So because it isn't, I'm going to pull this pack ahead. And you always know it's not this gargoyle. It just never is for whatever reason. He's the middle guy. So because there's no gargoyle there, I'm like, all right, I'll just pull this, use my old Elysian Decree, do a little damage. I'm actually noticing as I'm watching this, I have not used my engineering belt. It's down here below my GUI. I don't know why. I have it. I just always forget to use it. I need to do a better job of kind of like remembering that that's an option. I don't think I used it a single time in this dungeon, you know? So just jump over that. And I just check that guy because of nerves. So I could have pulled all of these together. I was worried about it spawning Pride in the middle of some bad shit, but I think in retrospect, it would have been fine and a good time save to pull these together. Especially if I had saved my DPS cooldowns, which I didn't. I end up waiting. Yeah, you can see I'm kind of thinking about it. I'm like, nah. So I decided to be a little baby. In hindsight, I really don't think it was necessary. I think I could have pulled them all together. There's a pull at the end of this after the boss that I want to look at the percentage of, too. It's another one of those deals with the gargoyle that's super annoying. And I think I just forgot. I think I just forgot one of the pattern, or the pats, excuse me, the trolls. So we'll check that later too. So same deal here. I focus the dude, make sure I get my demon spikes up during his crushing thing, and make sure I interrupt barb spikes. And then this will spawn pride now. So this is why, by the way, it's kind of like why I don't like this pattern, but it's also why I keep using it, because if it works out the way this does, it's really not bad. But sometimes the gargoyle's in a weird spot, and then the pride spawns at a weird spot. Ooh, this is spicy. This is spicy. Did I get hit by a rushing slam and not notice? Did I break my own rules? I did. I did. So you can see that's exactly what I was talking about before. That's why this was so spicy. So I had it activated, and I can guarantee you what happened is just the pride was spawning, and I just wasn't paying attention to that cast because the pride was spawning. Yeah, and so that's just a misplay on my part. I could have had demon spikes up, and I'd probably still be at 50%, which would not be spicy at all. But yeah, now I'm really low with necrotic, and that's one of the things that's so important about necrotic is mechanics like that, where, you know, maybe in any other week when it wasn't necrotic, I could take that hit and be like, oh no, I'm low, and I just heal myself back up. But because I have 20 fucking necrotic stacks, I can't heal myself up. The healer's freaking out. So I just decided to fell dev. I was thinking about using my Kyrian potion to wipe those stacks for sure. But with the boss coming up, I want to make sure I have the ability to wipe necrotic stacks off during the boss, just in case like the ad stays up or something. So I made that spicier than it needed to be by not mitigating the crushing strike. But that, oh wow, didn't move out of the way there and eat that. But yeah, that's a good example though, because we had just talked about that a second ago. You know, why that's so important, and that's why. So yeah, so anyway, back to my point about the prides here. So we do have to kill a mob before the boss. But that's not really bad. It's just one of these gargoyles, and we have pride. So this is going to take, like, tops maybe 10 seconds to kill this dude. What, at 54? Maybe a little longer than 10 seconds. I don't know. It's not too bad. You still get a lot of prideful time. Yeah. It'll probably end up being, like, 20. Yep, right around 20 seconds. So that's not too bad. It's 20 seconds off of the pride, which, you know, it's definitely not ideal. I'm sure I could do the weird pull back and forth, proc pride at a different time, but I don't know. I feel like that also wastes a lot of time. I think the logic is that this boss is such a turd that you just want, like, all that wasted time, you want as much pride as you can get. And I think it would make lust time up as well. Yeah, spoiler alert, we actually don't have lust for this. I thought we were going slow enough that we would, but that's fine. But normally if you're going really fast and you don't have lust on this boss, it's okay because you can use lust on the third boss, which is still good and a good use of lust. But I think in hindsight, it would have been better if I had done another pattern, because then lust would have timed up innately with the pride and we would have obliterated this boss. I don't think we lose, though, because we don't have lust. The healer, I need to look at how the healer dies. But the healer dies in kind of a weird way here, where he's in like a pool, and I res him, but he's got to wait to take the res because of the pool. And I think if the healer hadn't died, I need to look at how avoidable his death was or was not. Because if he had not died, we absolutely would have one-shot this boss. But, you know, it's important on this boss, by the way, if you can manage it. If you can manage to, in my opinion, deal with the boss and stay somewhat healthy without blowing majors like Feldev, that's really nice, because having Feldev for the ad both helps you kill the ad faster and helps you survive the ad, and the ad does a lot of damage. So I always try to save Feldev and Spirit Bomb for the ad to help burst it down. I didn't use it on the first one there. There was more than enough damage from the other DPS. They all had their cooldowns running. So I usually use it on like the second ad, because that's, you figure your DPS probably don't have their cooldowns for that ad. So here it comes. Gonna avoid the thing, go back, Feldev, Blissing Decree, just help blow this guy up. Okay, now is this where the healer dies? No? Yes? Yeah, he just didn't get out of the puddle. So that's an avoidable death. So I don't really feel too bad about not having waited based on that, because I think had that not been an issue, had the healer come out, I think he got a little greedy with his Spirit Link, and he just stayed in the puddle too long. Had that not happened, this would have absolutely been a kill. Oh, you know, it happens. No big deal. So I go to res him here, and he just doesn't take it. I don't know if he's afraid of standing in it. I don't know why he takes it. Maybe he's waiting for castigate, but then that, like, guarantees that the monk dies. No, somehow the monk survives. Holy shit, what a god. What a god. Did he use... I guess he used a diffuse or some shit. Wild. So he finally takes it. I proc, but then the monk's already dead. Yeah, I don't know if he could have taken... Oh, and then I'm a little bad here for letting the ad go wild, but I'm kind of like trying to see what's going on, so I'm a little stressed. But yeah, so that really sucks. I think he could have taken that res sooner than he did. I definitely think he could have, but it's all good because even though we had pride for this, we did not use lust because we were ahead of the timer, which again is ideal. In my opinion, we would want to have used lust on the third boss, ideally. Could be wrong. Sound off in the comments if you think I'm stupid. But the shaman reminds me that we do have lust. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, I didn't even realize. Looking back, it's ideal, but yeah, at the time I was just like, oh, neat. So we'll lust on him, and then we kill him here. Yeah, there's actually pretty solid DPS in here for... Considering that the healer and I are both low eye level, I expected these guys to do far worse damage than they did. Just gonna skip ahead. Alright. So yeah, we start the boss again. I start off with Fiery Brand to get that early threat, early damage reduction, and now the ad's out. Just gonna pull him in. And I end up blowing Feldov there at the end just because I was getting a little bit low, and I don't want the healer's life to be hard. Healer, I'm sure, could have topped me there, but this is one of those fights where, like, you as a tank... It's not really a tank heal fight, even though the tank can take a lot of damage in it. And so, in my opinion, this is one of those fights where you want to try to, like, help the healer out as much as you can with that regard, because when someone gets castigate, the healer ideally wants to have, like, some cooldowns during that point for them. And so, like, if I get low here, like, I'm going to blow Blood Spattered Scale, so he doesn't have to worry too much during the ad. I probably could have just preemptively done Blood Spatter. That probably would have been better. But I try to, like, think about this fight through that lens, because it's definitely hard to heal up the rest of the party, depending on, like, maybe the same person gets castigate 3 times in a row, and they just don't have any defensives left, you know? So the monk is nice. He's blowing his defensive. That's what the blue bar here says. So... good plays on the monk. And then I'm going to blow Feldov here just during the ad, like I was saying before. Kind of help out with that. Move back, and this is pretty much easy peasy. So yeah, Bloodlust made that way easier. I suppose in retrospect, I don't know. I still can't decide how I feel about it because, like, we definitely would have obliterated the boss if we had Bloodlust and Pride. But I also don't think there was any reason for us not to have killed the boss on the first attempt, other than that the shaman stood in the thing. Which, like I said, happens, but, you know, it's whatever. I always try to blow as much burst damage as I can here, so I start with a Elysian Decree, a bunch of Spirit Bombs, and then you just leave. Because those ads do so much damage, and with Necrotic on top of it... actually, let's talk about it really quick, a mistake I just made. Not a big deal. So, I'm going to leap away from these guys, right? I know I'm going to kite. But I leap, and then I'm like, oh, they're not slowed, I'll put chains down. And I end up grabbing them. But it's just better to put the chains down first and then leap, because if you put the chains down first, the mobs are already attacking you, and it's going to hit them. Even if you leap before the chains goes off, they won't be able to catch you in time to get out of the chains. Whereas if you try to put the chains down while the mobs are moving, it's much more difficult to guarantee that. So here is where I fuck up, I think. What percent do I get at when they die? So I'm going to check this gargoyle, basically, and the gargoyle doesn't come up. And what I want is the gargoyle, because the gargoyle gives, like, 2.5% or something. Let me check my notes here just to see what my... Let's see how bad I fucked this up. Or maybe I'm right. I don't know. Let's see. It's 69. No, it's only 69. So I think I fucked this up, because this dude gives 1. And the ghoul gives... I can't see. The scribe gives 1. The ghoul gives 1 as well, I'm pretty sure. So I would have been good with just these 2. I don't know why I pulled the pat. Honestly, I have no idea why I did that. I think I just totally forgot my pull pattern. And I was like, well, I'll just get the pat because they're here. But I'm actually not supposed to get the pat. I'm only supposed to pull these 2 if the gargoyle isn't alive. And so because of this, this makes us get Pride a little bit too early on a pack at the very, very end. And that kind of sucks. But it also means... Oh, it's such a tricky one. It also means we don't get Pride at a more annoying part. God, I can't decide what I think about this. I can't decide if that's a mistake or not. But at any rate, the minimum you need to be at before going down is 69. And I'm above it there because I didn't technically need that. I'll talk about where the Pride would have come in. And you guys can make your own conclusions. But I think this dungeon actually... Like, Sanguine Depths is probably the dungeon that... I like the pattern, but there are the most little tiny fixes in it that I'm not sure about. Like, I feel the most uncertain about a lot of it. I don't know who pulls this. I think it's the Shaman. Yeah, I just saw that Flame Shock. He does this a couple times. I don't mind this one. I guess he does it because he doesn't want to deal with the casts on the next pull, which is fine. But because he does it when he's so far away and this guy puts the ground effect down, and because I don't want to, like, pull the boss, it's kind of annoying. I guess I could have just walked up. I don't think I would have pulled the boss, but I'm like, I'll just move back. You'd hate to... I'm, like, extra cautious. I'm sure I could have walked over here and the boss wouldn't have pulled, but, like, pulling the boss accidentally always sucks. Pulling the boss accidentally on Necrotic week is, like, almost as bad as doing it on a Bolster week. Not as bad. Nothing's as bad as pulling extra mobs to the boss on a Bolster week. Fuck Bolster. They need to rewrite that fucking affix for sure, but I don't mind Necrotic at all. I think people complain about Necrotic way more, and I think Bolster is way worse, but it's never fun to pull mobs into a boss on either of those weeks, depending on the number of mobs. But yeah, I'm sure the Shaman wanted to do that so he didn't have to deal with the silence on himself. But we have more than enough interrupts. Do I do Silence Sigil? Do I even need to? No. Yeah. Just imprison. Okay, so this is another boss that's like the first boss, except this boss is like even more that way with regard to wanting to overlap your cooldowns. So basically your whole goal with this boss is to have at least 2 layers of mitigation in some form, or 2 layers of defensives, we'll say, for every single Iron Spikes. And so I will usually do Fiery Brand with Demon Spikes, bare minimum, or Demon Spikes with Meta. Meta by itself is sufficient, but it's better if you can get an overlay Demon Spikes. And then you can roll Blood Spattered Scale into that, and obviously then actual pure Metamorphosis as opposed to the Fell Depth Metamorphosis. And then the whole fight, you're just trying to reset this Fiery Brand to make sure it's up, because you can have Fiery Brand up for, I think, every other... I think if you're really on top of it, you can have it up for every one. But having it for every other is not bad. So I'm already at 50 here, so this sucks. And I've got Fiery Brand up. So I actually just go ahead and do Demon Spikes, Fiery Brand, and Blood Spattered Scale because I started at 50%. And that's not too big of a deal because next time around, I will be able to have Fiery Brand, Fell Dev, and Demon Spikes if I'm low, or if I'm at like 50, I can just do Fiery Brand, Demon Spikes probably. And it won't be a big deal. But that Iron Spikes, like, look at that, man. It just chewed through, like, okay, I'm taking 40% less damage from her because she's got Fiery Brand. I have Demon Spikes up to fucking parry and have more armor and take less physical damage. And with all of that, I've got a giant shield for, like, 60% of my health bar or some shit. And she just chews it up and still hurts me. Iron Spikes does not fuck around. Okay, so we're a triple melee group here. And... excuse me, I gotta sip some coffee. And what kind of sucks about triple melee groups is everybody's got to run around and get the little gold buff. But because everybody's close to the boss, like if we were ranged, we might have people out here in these quadrants, so to speak. And I think one thing I should have done is I should have just looked at the farthest ones, like this one and this one and this one, and I should have just leapt out and got them. The reason I didn't is because typically you've got at least 2 ranged in most comps. And so I'm used to just really not thinking that way because typically I think, well, these are for the ranged, right? So I typically look for the melee ones. But because we have 3 melee, it gets a little scuffy, and I end up like going to get one, and I'm like, okay, I see those guys going to get them. I don't want to take... You don't want to take the orbs from your DPS as the tank. Like, I feel like you'd almost always rather only get 1 orb as a tank. Luckily, I leap and happen to get this right before it goes off. So I've got 2. And 2 is all you need as a tank. You really don't need to take 3. So then in this phase, you're basically just trying to get as many soul cleaves in as you can to get this Fiery Brand reset. And what sucks is because of the area denial that comes from these ground effects, sometimes what will happen is you might actually be able to get that reset with the number of shards that you have out, but you might physically be unable to hit the boss. It happens to be that I was able to here, but that can happen. And so then because of that, I've got Fiery Brand ready for the next Iron Spikes, which is coming out now. And so here that comes. And I'm going to activate Fiery Brand and probably Feldev too. Yes. I didn't get the Feldev up as soon as I would have liked to have. And I should have just gone ahead and put up probably Demon Spikes. But what can be tricky is like with doing 3 layers of mitigation is you can fuck yourself by, if you do all 3, yeah, the Iron Spikes won't hurt at all. But then you'll take a lot more damage from the ensuing melees. So, you can see they're not too bad here, so I don't really regret that at all, but I happen to have a lot of soul shards available. Also, I think having a shaman healer helps. They're really good at healing when you're low. So, I think I kind of stole from this dude. He's kind of fucked. So, yeah, you can see he's just like, ah, shit, and then he doesn't activate anything. How did he take so little damage? Maybe he got a couple and I didn't notice. So, maybe I'm less of an asshole than I thought, but... At any rate, we're going into Endless Torment now. And this is exactly the situation I'm talking about, where I can't attack her. Luckily, I've done a good enough job that it really doesn't matter. But depending on your timing, it can happen. I think I go for the res on this dude in a second. I get really confused because I don't know where he's at. I need to get an add-on that like automatically marks anyone who dies with a specific marker, so that I can see where they're at, because I don't always notice where they are. And that can kind of fuck me with my ability to use the shitty melee range battle res. So I activate actual meta there. I don't use Fiery Brand. And really the reason I did that, I didn't really need meta. I could have just saved it for a rainy day, which is stupid too, I guess. But I knew I was going to be rezzing. And so I wanted the real meta so it lasted longer while I was casting my res. Literally why I did it. And so I finally find him, and I think I cast my res here. And that's the only reason I used meta, was so that I had that up while I was casting the res on the monk. So I'm going to get my orbs here. I think I only get 1. No, I got 2. That works a lot better. Monk smartly says I'm going to wait, which is good. Then he goes ahead and takes it here. It's an interesting lay on hands on the healer from the on the healer from the paladin. Was that remotely necessary? Oh, okay. He ate the... he didn't mitigate it. Yeah, no, that's good. Even though he was about here, this mechanic, when everybody takes constant AoE damage. A lot of people, like non-healers, they're like, oh, well, this is an easy thing because as long as people don't stand in it, it's fine. They don't take any damage. No, they actually take a shit ton of damage constantly, even if they don't stand in those. So it's like a double whammy if you take fail damage, and it actually is a hard thing to heal. So one of the best things you can do if you're a hybrid class that has some heals is just heal the healer, because the healer not having to think about themselves is huge. So I'm going to do, it looks like, Fiery Brand into Feldev and Demon Spike, so I'm taking no damage at all. And you can see, like, this is crazy. Like, I'm only 205 eye level, right? This boss does hurt like a motherfucker, but if you properly align your cooldowns, it's really not a big deal. And the problem with this fight is that a lot of tanks don't understand that. They just come into this fight, and they think, like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to, like, you know, try and get as much total uptime of my mitigation as possible. But then if you do that, and she goes around to an Iron Spikes, and you've been trying to keep general uptime of your mitigation and not saving it for Iron Spikes, she's going to do an Iron Spike, she's literally going to knock you down to, like, 10% health, maybe kill you, or maybe cheat your death, you know, and then you're going to start this phase with, like, no health, and the healer's going to be stressing so hard having to have blown cooldowns on you that they're not going to have anything to keep everyone else up during the rest of this phase. And that's how, like, this is a healer-centric fight, but the tank can make it a lot easier or harder on the healer. And so can the DPS. Props to the Paladin there. He just blows bubble. Healer doesn't have to think about it at all, and he can focus on the Monk, who probably ran out of defensives. She does double Endless Torment here, I think, right? Is that right? No, she did not, excuse me. So it's Rite of Supremacy into it. So yeah, she does do Endless. Sometimes they do 2 Endless Torments for some reason. I don't know why that is. At any rate, we're pretty much just going through the motions now. Everything's been pretty solid. And we're just kind of chilling. We're going to go on to the next pull. I did Fiery Brand here. She's almost dead, but you can see that would have killed me if I didn't. So even though she was like so close to dying, it's really tempting to want to save that cooldown. It's like, nah. So here's where, this is where pulling that extra pack is kind of nice. And then at the end, it's where it's kind of not nice. So because I pulled that extra pack up top, we are going to get pride as we kill this pack. And I always tell people to stay here because there's all those traps on the ground, and dealing with those traps in that small area just sucks, and there's the potential that you might run into the next pack when you're trying to avoid them, and it's just awful. So I always tell people to come in. But at any rate, we end up getting pride on this pack. And if I had not pulled that extra shit above before we came down, then we would have gotten pride in the middle of the next pack, which on a non-Fort week is not that bad, but I actually prefer this on Fort week, I think, just because that next pack is so awful. But it does make a kind of a weird spicy situation at the end. So spoiler alert, I'll talk about that when we get to it. So I use the Fiery Brand on the Pride. And they're killing this so fast, the Paladin is going ham, that I don't think I will be able to reset my Fiery Brand by the time it's done. You can see, though, you still get so much time off. Like 20 seconds? 15? Yeah. I mean, that's damn near reset, even as fast as that was dying. Okay, so this is the situation where now that you have this item, whatever the hell it's called, I don't even know, you want to focus the Chamber Sentinel and look at when he does Severing Slash, because as soon as he finishes Severing Slash, you want to activate this to wipe the bleed off of yourself. Actually, no, you can use it before, too, because it's a persistent bleed wipe, if memory serves. I might be lying there. I think let's see what I do here. I forget how this works. It either wipes it on drop, or it constantly wipes it the whole time you're in it. I can't remember which it is. I know it wipes it on drop. Yeah, I think, actually... Let's see if I can look at the tooltip when I mouse over it. Waiting. Creating a barrier around you, reducing damage taken, removing applications of Wicked Ash, making them immune to knock. Yeah, it says, it doesn't say it removes bleeds, but it absolutely does. So then I don't actually know. I want to try that again and see, because if it wipes, I feel like it has to wipe persistently, because otherwise, when people walked into it, it wouldn't wipe their bleed, right? I'm actually not sure. I need to lab that. If it wipes it persistently, then I should do it right away to mitigate the hit as well as the bleed. So he's going to do Dread Bindings, and this always sucks because of, we had gone over that earlier with having to kite. So since you have to kite with the Mist Dancer hitting you, it really sucks. But they already killed the Mist Dancer, so then the only thing we have to worry about is the Severing Slash, which also sucks, but you can't really do anything about it. Like, you're just going to have to leave. I did not focus this guy to see, by the way, so I should have done that. You can't do much about that. Shaman eats the Craigie Fracture on the ground. That really blows. And he's going to do Severing Slash. I'm not sure the answer to that. I know it works as a wipe at the end, but I don't know if I've ever tried it preemptively to see if it still wipes. I think the Monk DC's here, which kind of sucks. Yep. I go to start to eat, then the Monk DCs, then I wait. I could have just kept eating. I don't know why I didn't, but whatever. And then I decide after waiting that we should just go anyway, because I'm very decisive and cool. I'm like, what are we waiting for? It's not Fort Week. We'll just go. So then I go in. This is pretty spicy, what I'm about to do on Necrotic Week, but I have damage cooldowns and plenty of defensives, and so to save time, I'm going to pull this with the next pack. This is textbook for me. I need to be better about this with my Demon Hunter. I need to be better about making sure I have Demon Spikes active right away while I'm getting threat on the other mobs. Because basically what's happening is I'm like, well, I don't want to blow my cooldowns yet because I'm still going to be moving around to go get these guys. But really, I should have just put Demon Spikes up right away. It would have helped a lot with that damage that I took just there. So I just did not activate Demon Spikes soon enough. But anyway, I get my Elysian Decree down for damage. I use, what the hell did I use? Oh, I use my Curing Potion, yeah. Use my Curing Potion to wipe my Necrotic stacks, and then I just get to stay in longer and keep healing. And then I go ahead and just blow meta here, because it's definitely going to take us at least 3 minutes to get to the end of this fight. If this was Fort Week, I would never do this because I would want meta for the end of the hallway with the big guy. But because it's not Fort Week, this is enough. And frankly, I probably should have also used this on this pull, or I probably should have used this rather than meta in hindsight. But meta will be up by the boss, and that's all that really matters. Oh, no, I should not have used this. Yeah, that's why I'm stupid. Sorry, I'm talking on my ass. I can't use this here because I need it for when she does the AoE. That's why I can't use it here. Whereas at the end on the last pull, she's not here any longer, and that allows me to use this. So yeah, meta was the right call. Yeah, don't use the item when you're fighting Call if she hasn't done the attack you need it for, because you will wipe your group and they will hate you forever. So right now I'm just trying to stay in. I'm really happy. And you can see there I had necrotic stacks. I activated this. I no longer have necrotic stacks. So even though it's not on the tooltip, it definitely wipes, like, it's either all bleeds and poisons, or I don't know what it is, but activating that does remove necrotic from you, which is really cool. Another thing I could have done with necrotic is, since we had a paladin, I could have told him that I have a cancel bot macro. But that's hard to coordinate when you're not in Discord, like, so it's whatever. But that's one of the things that paladins are great for, is that Blessing of Protection actually does remove necrotic stacks as well. And so if you have them bop you and you just very quickly remove bop, which is why I have a cancel bot macro that I just mash, it basically just takes all your necrotic stacks away, and you still maintain threat, because bop doesn't actually reset your threat; it pauses it. And so if you remove bop, you get back all the threat that you had before you were bopped immediately. So it's not like you have to re-get the threat back. You know, once you remove it, it just immediately comes back because it was just paused. Thank God these dogs do not do necrotic stacks anymore. I literally don't think I could have done this gauntlet in the old version of this dungeon. It would have been awful on necrotic week. But since the dogs don't add necrotic anymore, it's really no big deal. I get some quick burst threat with Spirit Bomb. This is a textbook example of why I like Spirit Bomb. That burst threat is just so nice, and then I can just fuck off immediately. When you can see they're doing... oh no, excuse me, this doesn't make sense. It's a long one. I was going to say, am I doing 5k there? But I probably was doing close to that on burst, honestly. I'm just higher because of all the persistent damage. But yeah, it's really nice for burst threat, just to get in and get out, and that's so nice for when you have to kite on a demon hunter. So we're just waiting for her to get to full energy. When she gets to full energy, and that's how you can monitor it as the tank, she casts Gloom Squall at full energy. So when she's getting high energy, that's when you kind of mentally get prepared to use this item. Shining Radiance, apparently, is what it's called. And then there you go. Man, she really hits hard for... well, I guess, you know, she's not considered fortified. She's still considered tyrannical. That's why she hits so hard. Because she is technically a boss, I think. Yeah, that makes sense. So just going to clean these guys up, and then I think it's the... Is it the big pack next? Yeah, I'm running away at 15 because basically I don't want to use... I have this. I could use Blood Spattered Scale, but there's really no need for me to try and stress the healer or myself on such an easy pull, because, like, those guys are going to die relatively quickly, so I don't need to stay in. I want to save it for this big pull that we're about to do. And sorry, we do have one more, so... well, even this is better. It's still better to have used it on call. So... Right frame of mind, wrong reasoning, retrospectively. But yeah, hopefully I will have something good for the next pull. Hopefully I end up saving Feldev and don't use it here. Yeah, cool. So I've got at least Feldev. Oh, well, maybe I'll end up using it here. I don't know. She hurts. Yeah, I might not have much for the next pull when we get in. Might get a little spicy. Non-Fort week, so it's all good. I'm trying desperately to save Feldev, but I don't know if I'll be able to. I'm just like... Please go to full energy so I can use this. Please go to full energy so I can use this and wipe my necrotic. Don't make me Feldev. I put it down. Thank God. And the Pally land hands me. Okay. That's not a terrible move, especially if he was monitoring my necrotics. It's just quick top me. I don't really think it was explicitly necessary, but I appreciate it because it means I definitely will not need Feldev there. Which is great, because now I can have that for this next pull. So same deal here. You want to make sure to use this thing when he does Severing Slice. I think I can't, though, because of the timing. Let's see when he does it. Yeah, I can't. I still have 10 seconds. So I'm just going to, yeah, immediately Fell Dev to mitigate the first hit of the Severing Slice. I did not have Demon Spikes to give myself more parry chance, which sucks, which basically means I'm almost guaranteed to get it. I could parry it without Demon Spikes, but it's unlikely. But that's okay. We have Fell Dev running, so we're taking a lot less damage from everything. And I think I should put down a Listening Decree pretty soon. I don't know why I haven't yet. Oh, this sucks. So this is lag again. So I go to hit meta, and it's just because my ping is so high at like 215, the meta doesn't go off in time. And this is the worst thing to happen as Vengeance, because now I manually used Metamorphosis, and I cheat death, whatever you call it. Is it Last Stand? I forget what they call it. Last something. I don't even know. I don't remember what it's called. Fell something. Anyway, I cheat death, and so then I didn't need to use meta because I cheat death, or vice versa. If I had used meta at the time that I wanted to, I wouldn't have cheated death. That blows. I hate when that happens. It's like the worst thing ever. Because it's just, I don't know, it's just super suboptimal usage of cooldowns. It really sucks. But he's going to Severing Slice. I clear the bleed with that again. And then we're pretty much good to go forward. So this is where making the previous prides better for the extra percentage that I got. You can see we're almost at 100 already. We almost don't even need to kill these guys. This is where that kind of sucks, because this pride activates as soon as like anything in here dies, and it's really hard to keep everything even because you're moving around from the traps and shit. And I think we wipe here, if memory serves, because of that, which definitely sucks. And so this is where it's like, even though it is nicer on those other pulls to be less spicy, and this pull is less spicy than the other two, having this right before the boss, pride spawning, nobody has any cooldowns because the gauntlet's really challenging. It's like, God, this sucks too. So there's just some kind of spicy prides any way you slice it in Sanguine Depths, unless you just really go out of your way. Yeah, and you can see here I have no way to wipe my necrotic other than this, which hopefully I do soon. I don't. I should have put that down early. It would have helped immensely if I had put the item down. Yeah, someone else picks it up and does it, but they're going to wipe because no one has a B-res. I'm waiting to see if anybody B-reses me, and it looks like I'm the only person who has it, so I release. So that really sucks. It's a group wipe, but we're doing so well on this timer. It doesn't matter. And that's like, these guys are pumping really well, but they're not pumping so hard that they're like hella carrying. I think all their overalls by the end of the dungeon is only like 5k, which is really good. I mean, 5k is good, but it's not like amazing, you know? If they're doing like 5.5 to 6k, I'd be like, all right, we've got some hella pumpers. Or, I mean, I've done dungeons in Sanguine where people end the dungeon at, you know, 6.5k or even close to 7. So these guys are competent damage dealers, but it's not like they're so good that they're hella carrying the dungeon. And that's what makes me really not, as much as I rag on this pattern and think I could improve it, I also feel like it works really well. Like, you know, it's carrying a not highly undergeared group, but not a highly geared specialized group through. You know, I'm hella low at 205 eye level. The shaman is really similar. So I don't know. I think the pattern works. And you figure we've also, with the issues we've had, we're still this high above the timer. Like, we definitely could have plus 2'd this if we didn't have the second boss wipe, for sure. I think we could have. So, no big deal. We got 10 minutes almost. Well, 9, I guess. And I'm just going to skip forward here because we're just eating. So, we're just going to start the pride. This is a little bit annoying because I say I want to do the mob with the boss and not the pride. Mostly because of the traps, but honestly, I don't know. They both suck. The shaman just decides at some point to flame shock the dude. It's fine. I would have preferred to do it right away if we were going to do it. So I was like, you give it that with the boss, and he had already pulled. So no big deal, whatever. They're going to kill it here. Yeah, and I'll just take it in with the boss anyway. That's kind of, well, no, the guy dies, so we're going to wait. So this is kind of the worst of both worlds, right? I would have, if I was going to do it right away, I would have rather done it... Sorry, if I was going to do it with the pride, I would have rather done it right away. That would have been better. To get the necrotics out of the way early before the pride is doing super high damage, and then kill him, hopefully, before he's low when the pride's doing high damage. But, all good. Like I said, we still have like 7 minutes, so here we go. Bloodstained Pride, just going to burn, burn, burn. This boss is really interesting to tank, because pretty much no matter what tank spec you are, and no matter what you do, this boss just does like constant, persistent damage. There isn't like a big tank hit that she does. She's just hitting semi-hard the entire time. And that means you want to try and keep your active mitigation up, you know, fairly high uptime as much as you can over time. Just kind of like, this is a boss, like, you don't want to overlap your cooldowns. You usually want to roll through each cooldown and have only one cooldown up for as much time as possible, because she's just constantly doing an average amount of damage, right? But invariably, like, you will run out of cooldowns on this boss eventually, unless you're, I don't know, maybe like a monk. Like, monks are probably really good at this fight because they're just constantly, you know, they can reset stagger, or sorry, not stagger, they can reset Celestial Brew so well, and then just stagger being constantly up, basically, you know, with and then shuffle being constantly up. They have 100% uptime basically on shuffle, which is their technical active mitigation, and then stagger is just obviously always a thing. Monks are probably really good at this fight, but with like a demon hunter, you can see here I've already meted, okay, because I was getting low. I have no more demon spikes up for the next 15. I will have fiery brand, which is great. I'll roll that into a fell dev, and then I'll roll demon spikes into blood spattered scale, right? But then you can see after that, that's going to be tight, right? No more meta. I do have cheat death, which is good. Or sorry, I don't have cheat death, which sucks. Yeah, that's right, because I had the bad cheat death earlier. So that makes me a little bit scared here, but it's okay. I've got Fell Dev coming up along with Blood Spattered Scale. All right, looks like I used Blood Spattered first. It doesn't really matter. But she's just chewing through that scale, dude. Just chewing through it. So I need to get a Fell Dev going here. There it goes. And this is where we're getting to the point where it's bad. I've basically got one more Fiery Brand, and I've already used my Kyrian Potion to heal and wipe my necrotics. So I'll wipe the other necrotic with this. I'm going to Fiery Brand, and I know things are about to get bad. And my main mistake here is that I should have communicated that right now to the healer. I should have said here, hey, keep an eye on me, you know, or whatever, like no coolies, you know, but I don't say it until it's a little bit later than it should have been to be convenient. I think I say it like now. Yeah. Need help. No coolies. And so then I think the pally heals me and the healer heals me. So good shit to both of them. And they just top me. And now that the healer knows that, he's just spamming the shit out of me. It sucks, but like I'm out of shit. You know, our DPS is not high enough. I run out of all my shit, but we finally kill it. And yeah, so anyway, that was a fun run. It was a little bit spicy, but we ended up timing it. Despite the 215 MS, despite my 205 eye level, ended up going pretty well. And so yeah, you can see the overall damage is really not that crazy. I mean, it's good. 5k overall is good. I mean, you would never complain about having a DPS doing 5k overall. You know, unless you're in like a 19 or something. Like 5k is very, very good. But it's not like so high that I got, you know, crazily carried, you know, and same for the heals. So I'm very happy with how this turned out. It makes me feel really good. I mean, this is why, for me, I mean, Demon Hunter is really good, but I think they've always been good. I think they were good in Legion. People just underestimated them, and I've always felt at home on a Demon Hunter. I just feel like I know innately kind of how to deal with things, and it makes me feel pretty good to do a Tyrannical 14 Necrotic Sanguine Depths with a PUG on this character. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I don't know, I'll do more of these. They're fun. I like doing it, so hopefully you guys enjoy them too, and I will catch you next time. See ya.